Hello and welcome to another video. You may have seen our previous videos on bicep deployment, but this time we're talking about Azure Arc. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Wayne Bellows and I'm an Azure consultant with Azure. We've been using Azure Arc more and more over the last year or so, and it's becoming more popular, so I thought we'd do a quick video on the topic. So what are we going to cover today? So we'll have a quick overview of Azure Arc, so the supported resources and features and benefits and some pricing, and then we'll have a look at the Azure services that you can use with Azure Arc, so things like update management and monitoring and security. We'll have a look at the Azure Arc enabled data services, servers and Kubernetes. And there's a few features in preview at the moment, so we'll have a look at those. They are Azure Arc Virtual Machines, VMware and SCVMM. If you look at many of our customers' environments today, it's clear that they continue to grow in complexity with the influx of new technologies and platform investments. Applications are running across a diverse infrastructure with data centers, hosting environments, branch offices, as well as multi-cloud. To add to this complexity, your teams are using different development tools, languages and frameworks, as well as approaches like open source, Kubernetes and DevOps. Well, Azure has been designed with hybrid in mind from the beginning to help you meet these challenges. So to support this momentum, Azure offers unique hybrid and multi-cloud capabilities that give you the flexibility to innovate anywhere in your environment. It starts with Azure Arc. So Azure Arc enables you to seamlessly extend to Azure control plane to on-premises data centers, edge locations, and any public cloud. So this means centralized visibility, security, and governance across your resources and locations. So Arc also enables you to bring the tools that you are already familiar with, like GitHub and other Azure PaaS services, to those environments. Azure Arc simplifies governance and management by delivering a consistent multi-cloud and on-premises management platform. Azure Arc provides a centralized, unified way to manage your entire environment together by projecting your existing non-Azure and on-premises resources into Azure Resource Manager. You can manage VMs, Kubernetes clusters, and databases as if they are running in Azure. Use familiar Azure services and management capabilities regardless of where they live. So currently Azure Arc allows to manage these resource types hosted outside of Azure. You can manage Windows and Linux physical servers and VMs hosted outside of Azure, attach and configure Kubernetes clusters running anywhere with multiple supported distributions, run Azure data services on premises, at the edge, and in public clouds using Kubernetes and the infrastructure of your choice. Extends Azure services to the SQL Server instances hosted outside of Azure. And virtual machines is in preview, so you can provision, resize, delete, and manage virtual machines based on VMware vSphere or Azure Stack HCI, and enable VM self-service through role-based access. Also in preview is VMware vCenters and SCVMM management servers. Now, Azure Arc enables you to manage your entire environment with a single pane of glass by projecting your existing resources into Azure Resource Manager. You can now manage virtual machines, Kubernetes clusters, and databases as if they are running in Azure, regardless of where they live. You can use familiar Azure services and management capabilities. So how much does Azure Arc cost? Is it going to break the bank? Well, no, there's no charge to enable Azure Arc. The following functionality is offered at no extra cost. So resource organization through Azure management groups and tags, searching and indexing through Azure Resource Graph, access and security through Azure RBAC and subscriptions, environments and automation through templates and extensions, and update management. So any Azure services that is used on Azure Arc, such as Defender for Cloud or Azure Monitor, will be charged as per the pricing for that service. So with Azure Arc enabled data services, you can run services like Azure SQL managed instances anywhere. The application services can be combined with Azure Arc enabled data services, which include Azure Arc enabled Azure SQL managed instance. So Azure Arc enabled servers lets you manage Windows and Linux physical servers and virtual machines hosted outside of Azure on your corporate network or other cloud provider. This management experience is designed to be consistent with how you manage native Azure virtual machines using standard Azure constructs such as Azure policy and applying tags. So when a hybrid machine is connected to Azure, it becomes a connected machine and is treated as a resource in Azure. So each connected machine has a resource ID, enabling the machine to be included in a resource group. So to connect hybrid machines, you install the Azure Connected Machine agent on each machine, the Log Analytics agent or Azure Monitor agent for Windows and Linux is still required in order to do things like proactively monitor the OS and workloads running on the machine, to manage it using automation runbooks or solutions like update management, and to use other Azure services like Microsoft Defender for Cloud. You can install the connected machine agent manually or on multiple machines at scale using the deployment method that which is best for your scenario. So just wanted to summarize Azure Arc enabled servers for you. So you can onboard a wide variety of servers with to Azure with Azure Arc. So Windows, Linux, VM, bare metal, that are running anywhere. So you can organize all these servers and apply governance across all these servers and apply RBAC. You can also deploy Azure VM extensions to non-Azure Windows and Linux VMs, simplifying the management of hybrid machines on premises, edge, and other cloud environments. But remember, I talked earlier about how Azure Arc extends Azure management services to your non-Azure VMs. Well, a common question we get is, which management servers can I use with my Arc-enabled VMs? So as you can see here, we have a variety of Azure management services, all of which can be applied to your Azure Arc enabled machines. Then we have Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, which allows you to attach and configure Kubernetes clusters running anywhere. So you can connect your clusters running on other public cloud providers or clusters running on your on-premise data centers to Azure Arc. So when you connect a Kubernetes cluster to Azure Arc, it will be presented in Azure Resource Manager by a unique ID, be placed in an Azure subscription and resource group and resource tags, just like any other Azure resource. Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes supports industry standard SLL to secure data in transit. For the connected clusters, cluster extensions and custom locations, data at rest is stored encrypted in an Azure Cosmos database to ensure confidentiality. So typical uses of this architecture include managing on-premises Kubernetes clusters alongside clusters hosted in AKS for inventory, grouping, and tagging, monitoring Kubernetes clusters across hybrid environments using Azure Monitor, deploying and enforcing policies for Kubernetes clusters across hybrid environments using Azure Policy, and deploying and enforcing GitOps using Azure Policy. So let's have a look at Azure Arc in the Azure Portal. So we're here in the Azure Portal. If we go into Azure Arc, it takes you to the Getting Started page. Here we can add our infrastructure, so your on-prem or other cloud environments. If we go in here, it gives you a list of what we can add. So for instance, if we go into add servers, we can add a single server or multiple servers. If you use the single server option, it uses your own user account to onboard the servers. If you use the multiple servers, this uses a service principal, which you need to either create before or during your when you generate the script. So if we go into this one, for instance, we can select where we want our resources to go to. We go next, and this is the point where it creates the service principal, where you can select one which it already has. There's some details here around what permissions and stuff it needs. So once you've gone through this process, it downloads an onboarding script. So that onboarding script you can then use in your on-prem environment. So here we've got Hyper-V Manager running. We've got a few VMs here which we want to onboard into Azure Arc. So what we would do is to connect to your VM, copy the onboarding script over, and then just run the script. So that would onboard your VM into Azure Arc, which would look like this. So here we can see we've got our Azure Arc servers connected here. So status of connected, it sends a heartbeat out to the machine, and if it's offline like this one here, it will show that it's offline. It shows you the resource group, the subscription, any tags that we want adding, and the operating system. So this brings it all into one central view, and you can actually see your VMs alongside your Azure Arc servers if you go to all resources, and you can then manage them all under one central view. So let's switch back to Azure Arc. We can see here if we click on one of these servers that you can add your own tags in. So as these are non-Azure resources, you could add in, for instance, at the city or the data center where these resources are actually located, but you can add in any tags that you want to. You can also add in custom locations. So you could add, for instance, your data center. So if you wanted to add in your own data center here, and then when you add in resources, you can select that location. Cool. So let's just come back out of that. So if we just go back into servers and have a look at what Azure services you can use with Azure Arc servers. So as I mentioned before, you've got your tags. Patching is always important to have your machines as up to date as possible, so you can use update management like you would with an Azure VM. We've got Azure policies, which are being applied to our Azure Arc machines so they can stay in compliance with your company policies. And we've got some inventory and change tracking enabled, so you can look at what's on the machine and check any changes which are made to those machines. We've got monitoring enabled with Azure Monitor, so we can go in and have a look at the performance for things like the CPU utilization, memory, disks, everything that you would check on an Azure virtual machine. So we can see in here you've also got security. So this is using Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and if you've got endpoint installed on there, it would obviously show you alerts and reports that you can pull up for those. There is Azure Arc Resource Bridge, so this is in preview. So this is designed to host other Azure Arc services. So the Resource Bridge supports VM self-servicing and management from Azure for virtualized Windows and Linux VMs hosted in on-premise environments on Azure Stack HCI and VMware. So the Resource Bridge is a packaged VM which hosts a management Kubernetes cluster that requires no user management. So the virtual appliance enables VM self-servicing from Azure without having to create and manage a Kubernetes cluster. It's fully supported by Microsoft, includes updates of core components, designed to recover from software failures, and supports deployment to any private cloud hosted on Hyper-V or VMware from the Azure Portal or using the Azure CLI. So Resource Bridge enables you to connect your vCenter server to Azure. It enables you to represent the VMware resources in Azure and do various operations on them. So Azure Arc enabled VMware vSphere, which again is in preview, but it's extends Azure governance and management capabilities to VMware vSphere infrastructure. You get a consistent management experience across Azure and VMware vSphere. It allows you to perform various VMware VM lifecycle operations directly from Azure, such as create, start and stop, resize, and delete. It allows developers and application teams to self-serve VM operations on demand using Azure Arc. And you can browse your VMware vSphere resources, such as your VMs, your templates, networks, and storage in Azure, providing you a single pane view of your infrastructure across both environments. You can also discover and onboard existing VMware VMs to Azure, and you can conduct governance and monitoring operations across Azure and VMware VMs by enabling guest management, which installs the Azure Arc enabled servers connected machine agent. So using Azure Arc Resource Bridge, you can also connect VMM management servers to Azure. So Arc enabled System Center Virtual Machine Manager allows System Center customers to connect their VMM environments to Azure and perform VM self-service operations from the Azure Portal. You can get a consistent management experience across Azure. It allows you to manage your hybrid environment and perform self-service VM operations through the Azure Portal. For Microsoft Azure PAC customers, this solution is intended as an alternative to perform VM self-service operations. So Arc-enabled System Center VMM allows you to perform various VM lifecycle operations such as start, stop, pause, delete VMs on VMM managed VMs directly from within Azure. It allows developers and application teams to self-serve VM operations on demand using Azure Arc. You can browse your VMM resources such as your VMs, templates, your VM networks and storage in Azure, providing you a single pane view for your infrastructure across both environments. And you can discover and onboard existing managed VMs to Azure. So here are some helpful links that you can use to get started on your Azure Arc journey. There's also the Azure Arc Jumpstart, which is great. It deploys a sandbox environment that allows you to explore all of the major capabilities of Azure Arc in Azure just with a single click of the button. So there are some really interesting things in preview with Azure Arc. It's extending more and more into on-premise data centers, allowing you to centralize your entire estate. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed learning all about the exciting world of Azure Arc. I just wanted to highlight our original blog page at visual.com/blog. There's lots of great blogs on there from many different subjects, so go give it a browse. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.